Poco's sister. This is Poco's sister. Poco's sister. Her name is Poco's sister. My bad. They didn't give her a name, and she looked like Arena, so I thought Dio kidnapped her. But no, it's just Poco's sister. This is Poco. That's his sister. And now that I've corrected myself, let's continue on to Battle Tendency. And here we are again as we continue on this bizarre adventure with the second arc, Battle Tendency. And in the immortal words of Philip DeFranco, let's just jump into it. This chapter of the JoJo's saga takes place 50 years after Jonathan Joestar sacrifices his life to take Dio down with him on a burning ship. While his beloved wife Arena Joestar, and not Poco's sister, survives while being pregnant with her son and rescuing a newborn baby girl. It is now 1939 as Arena moves to New York with her grandson and our second JoJo, Joseph Joestar. Why the grandson and not Jonathan's son? Well, they named him George Joestar after Jonathan's father. That would make him a JoJo, I guess. And last I checked, this is not called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Meanwhile, best waifu Speedwagon is now an oil tycoon building a foundation to protect the world from more supernatural events like the ones caused by everyone's favorite flexin' vampire, Dio. We find him in Mexico, where they discovered the source of the stone mask along with the discovery of a trapped yet still living being encased in stone, the Pillar Man. Speedwagon believes that the Pillar Man is coming to life and will cause more chaos than Dio ever could. So he asks an old friend of his from the first arc, Straizo, to help destroy the Pillar Man before he wakes up by using Haumon, a battle technique harnessing the pure and raw energy of the sun that was also introduced in the first arc. Haumon was a new technique Jonathan learned to take down Dio and the vampires he encountered on his journey, but Haumon has become more advanced and complicated than it was 50 years ago, to which of course Joseph was perfectly capable of using it at a young age like it was no big deal. That part of the sentence alone just sums up his entire character. Took down some bitches with some Haumon. NBD folks, NBD. Anyway, Straizo decides to backstab Speedwagon instead by using a stone mask and Speedwagon's blood to become young, strong, and a vampire. To put it basically, he thought Dio-senpai was awesome and wanted to be just like him if given the chance. He then decides to kill anyone who's aware of the stone masks, so he heads to New York to kill Arena and Joseph. Little did he realize how advanced in Haumon Joseph really was, and decides upon his defeat to warn Joseph about the return of the Pillarmen and how they're likely to find him. At the same time, Speedwagon is found in a facility handled by...
Get ready! German medicine is the greatest thing in the world, don't you think? We can do anything!
It was the Nazis, wasn't it?
But yeah, they want to know everything about the Pillar Man in order to use his capabilities to benefit their army. A scenario that sounds too familiar at this point. Oh, by the way, everything I just said, from Speedwagon finding the first Pillar Man to Straizo telling Joseph about the Pillarmen and the Germans getting involved, all happened in the first 2 episodes. Out of 17. There is a lot to cover, so let's just keep going. In the beginning, the Pillarmen were immortal beings with incredible strength, but can easily be killed by sunlight. Their kind just wanted to keep to themselves and live their lives in peace, but the main antagonist, Kars, wanted to evolve his kind even further by infusing a stone known as the Red Stone of Aja with one of the stone masks, in order to become immune to sunlight and basically as close to perfection as he can be. His people try to execute Kars in order to maintain their way of life, but he ended up annihilating most of his people, leaving 3 alive to follow him: Santana, Wamu, and AC/DC. More band names! They hear that the Red Stone of Aja is on another continent, so they leave Santana in the Americas while searching for it in Rome. Since they couldn't really find the stone, they built a hibernation wall that would protect them from the sun, while also feasting on the bodies of anyone who touches them. You got all that? Great! As basic as I can describe this arc, Speedwagon discovers the source behind the mask that gave Dio and Straizo power, while also discovering the last survivors of some of the most powerful, and studly, beings on the planet that could easily take over the world with their power. But the first attempt to stop Santana in Mexico was almost foiled because of the German army trying to use whatever Speedwagon had found to their benefit. Even though they barely escaped, Joseph and Speedwagon are determined to make their way to Rome before the next three Pillarmen wake up. Along the way, they enlist the help of a familiar family name, Caesar Zeppeli, whose family has been protecting travelers from finding the Pillarmen wall for reasons. Trauma, prevention, reasons. Daddy never abandoned me and got sucked up by a wall reasons. Honestly, with these first two arcs, if your name was Zeppeli, you were not gonna have a good time. But the army enlisted to stall the Pillarmen from waking up get absorbed by the first Pillarman to wake up because one of the soldiers decided to be dumb enough to look inside a strange hole that randomly opened up. I mean, they knew what the wall does, but he still decides to be dumb enough to peep inside and turn it to a German skewer. A skewered Wiener Schnitzel, if I may. So our heroes are too late to stop the Pillarmen from waking up, and they would have been killed instantly for wielding Hamon abilities if the three of them weren't really intrigued by Joseph's proposal, which is to give them some time to get stronger in order to have a more worthy fight. Two of the Pillarmen implant Joseph with poison that'll instantly kill him within 33 days, giving him a short amount of time to get stronger, defeat them, and take the antidote. This then leads our two heroes to seek out a powerful Hamon user to train them, and that's where we meet Caesar's former teacher and Straizo's adopted daughter, Lisa, who just happens to be the baby Arena rescued 50 years ago. 50 years ago. And Miguel's been looking fine at 50. Fine enough for Joseph to peep at, but the poor baby doesn't even know yet.
I'm gonna tell him.
Don't you dare.
Oh, and she has an adorable assistant named Susie Cute, and I love her. Did I even cover everything as basic as I could? Because there was a lot to cover. I mean, at least from that point, it's nothing but training and fighting the Pillarmen one by one, while also overly explaining how our fighters were able to dodge or attack their opponent using nothing but sunshine and miracle mumbo jumbo.
My Hamon is running off him like rain off a raincoat! He's somehow repelling it and pushing it into all of this blood! I don't understand it! But seriously, folks, lucky thing I rolled my wrist just in time. The beast's immune to Hamon. Let's see if I can inject some Hamon into his system with something sharp!
Two words that basically sum up this arc: expositions and monologuing. At least even more than season 1, but that's just, again, part of the charm of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Speaking of charm, let's discuss our charming characters this season. First of all, best waifu, Speedwagon, as I promised from my first video. Why is he best waifu? Well, I don't think I can bring this explanation any justice. Perhaps I can have some assistance from a delightful expert who can properly explain why Speedwagon is indeed the best waifu in all of anime. Please allow him to flex on the subject, if you will.
He's so cute, Speedwagon, he's a brute, Speedwagon. So good at cutting up fruit, Speedwagon. I wish I could be with him in matrimony. Speedwagon, Speedwagon. Hell yes, it's Speedwagon Appreciation Hour, the waifu of legend. We've all wanted a waifu like Speedwagon for far too long. He's got the hat, which doubles as like a crazy ninja star shuriken that does more damage than any weapon in all of Naruto. He's a butler, but also he looks up to you. He respects you. He protects you. He's the man of all of our dreams. And he immediately shatters every waifu tier list you could think of. They named the S tier in tier lists after Speedwagon. This man starts off as any old brute, but because of his amazing waifu qualities, he immediately latches on to the Joestar bloodline. And this man stays with them forever. It doesn't matter if they're up against immortal vampires, Greek gods, or Dio for the 157th time. Speedwagon will have your back and he will be by your side. He's like the Alfred of anime, except also a waifu, and also Alfred is kind of overrated, not gonna lie. There's no man on this planet that I want to tip their fedora to me like Speedwagon. Thank you for this very short but on point Speedwagon Appreciation Waifu rant, and thank you so much for having me. Back to you.
Any questions? But yeah, Speedwagon's role in this season is to use his finances to protect the world from more supernatural shenanigans while also honoring his fallen friend by looking after the Joestars. He deeply admired Jonathan for his courage and gentlemanlike behavior, so he takes it upon himself to look after his descendants while also using his foundation to assist them in whatever new adventure lies ahead, especially in Stardust Crusaders. Okay, they get it at this point. But another well-known name that I wanted to cover more in this video is the Zeppeli family. In Phantom Blood, we meet Baron Zeppeli, a traveler from Italy vowing to destroy the Stone Mask while also teaching Jonathan how to use Hamon. Even though he saw a vision leading to his death, he does whatever he can to help Jonathan along his quest to defeat Dio. The act of self-sacrifice and doing your best for the benefit of peace and safety runs pretty thick in the Zeppeli family, as we hear what happened to his son while guarding the Pillarman Wall, and when we meet his grandson, Caesar Zeppeli. At first, he comes off as an arrogant jerk, teasing Joseph and his subpar use of Hamon, but he eventually comes around to prove what an honorable character he is, as he only wants to honor his family's tradition of battling evil entities. He accompanies Joseph to take down the Pillarmen while also helping him train under his former teacher, but his temper and past scars affect his judgment, especially when he's reminded of his father's death. And this is where I'm gonna stop talking, or else I will spoil something major and I will start crying. Zeppeli's a good boy. He best friend boy. Did I mention he fights with Hamon bubbles? He fights with bubbles. And still made it look cool. As for their teacher, Lisa, well, to put it simply, she's a bamf. A lady, but a lady bamf. Since she was raised by Straizo, Lisa is one of the world's strongest users of Hamon and certainly puts Joseph in his place while also teaching him new techniques he could never harness before. Not to mention, she gives Kars a run for his money by challenging him in a duel while Joseph had to deal with Walmu. Hell, she was just beating him up with a scarf. A Hamon scarf? But it's a friggin' scarf. Against this guy. I love her. I love this series. I want that scarf now. The lady knows how to fight and is to me one of the most badass ladies in all of anime. And I'm repeating myself here, but again, her assistant Suzy Q is precious and I love her. Next, we have the German soldier Stroheim, who assists Speedwagon in order to use his supernatural discoveries to benefit his army, but ultimately helps our heroes to try and stop the Pillarmen from obtaining their goal. Surprisingly, there's not that much to say about this character, as he's only there to see what the Pillarmen can do and tries to get in their way if he can. I honestly believe he only confiscated the Redstone of Aja at one point to just get his chance to flex on the Pillarmen with the power of German technology. Change my mind, y'all. Not much else to say, but he's still a funny character. As for the Pillarmen themselves, they're some of the most challenging adversaries the JoJo franchise has ever made, but they lack charisma in comparison to most of the JoJo villains. I mean, I know that's saying a lot considering how Kar steps into a battle waving his magnificent hair in the wind, wearing nothing but a bikini bottom and bitchin' boots, but he's still not as memorable as Dio. I know I shouldn't compare because it's honestly not fair, but I digress. Santana, Walmu, and AC/DC follow Kars' mission to make themselves perfect beings with the mask and stone, but they do their best to embrace each oncoming challenger with pride and honor, unlike Kars, who wanted to get his hands on the Redstone of Aja by any means necessary, even if it meant ditching a promised fight between him and Lisa. The man's on a mission, and he doesn't give a damn about honor. He's just a power-obsessed villain who thinks he's too good for mere mortals to gaze upon, but I guess I was just hoping for a little more personality from this villainous Adonis. And finally, we get to our main hero and the second JoJo, Joseph Joestar. His father, George, died when he was a baby and was told his mother was gone as well, as far as he knew. So he was looked after by his grandmother, Arena, and Speedwagon. Compared to the other JoJos, he's not only the one that makes the most amount of appearances, but he's the most charismatic and witty. He teases a lot and comes off with an extreme amount of confidence in himself, but he does his best to protect the ones he cares for the most while trying not to upset his sweet grandmother. Sometimes he'll bite off a bit more than he can chew, but with his luck and quick thinking, Joseph finds a way to take on any challenge and somehow wins most of them.
私はテキーラ酒を持って参りましたの。とってもよろしいかしら？
Well, I said most of them. Geez, you would think he would know the basics of makeup tutorial from his own mother, Too soon? He's not a complete gentleman like his grandfather. Oh, the sweet baby, he didn't even know. But he strives to get stronger in order to do what's right and fight away any kinds of evil entities that threaten him or his loved ones. Plus, and this is spoiling a few things here, what other Joestar can say they fought a strong opponent on a boulder that was literally shot out of an active volcano while using Hamon to choke him with a decapitated arm? I can't stress this enough, he is using Hamon on top of an erupting volcano to choke a bitch with a decapitated arm. Do I need to repeat myself more? Definitely top contender for best JoJo of the franchise, but I'll decide for myself when we watch the rest of the series. As I stated in my Part 1 review, the events of Phantom Blood were just a tip of the JoJo iceberg. You can definitely see why with everything that happens in this arc. From perfectly buff studs coming back to life from their stone hibernation, to watching our wacky heroes face off against said studs while monologuing through it all, Battle Tendency definitely packs a punch. Sure, the villains aren't as memorable compared to other JoJo villains, but I still think this is an entertaining arc in the JoJo lineup. We learn more about the Stone Mask, see what else Hamon is capable of, and see what happened to our main cast of characters still alive from Phantom Blood while embracing the new generation. Phantom Blood starts your adventure off slowly, with Battle Tendency getting into world building while also easing you in with these larger-than-life characters. I say this while knowing that this arc has 3 chiseled Adonises encased in stone and coming back to life after thousands of years, and also features a cyborg Nazi. This arc, I tell ya. But yeah, it's everything that you need to prepare yourself for the next arc, the pinnacle of the most favored chapter in all of JoJo, Stardust Crusaders. But that will have to wait till next time. And you had to. Overall, I had a blast watching Season 1 with these 2 arcs, and say it's definitely worth your time. You can watch all of Season 1 on Anime Lab in Australia and Netflix in America. As for the dub, I mean, you should still watch the shows in sub, but I think the dub is still pretty good when you have the talents of Wendy Lee as Lisa and Bryce Papenbrook as Caesar.
He actually used the momentum of the oil to whip himself up and over the top of it. He didn't fall. In fact, it looks like he made it up a whole 3 meters.
I've never seen anyone ascend the Hell Climb pillar like that before.
Still, the one that took me a bit to adjust to was Benjamin Diskin as Joseph. It's more of a pitch thing rather than an acting thing, since he captures Joseph's personality very well. I just thought at first he sounded a bit high for his pitch, but I didn't seem to mind it too much along the way. You get used to it.
I bet you thought I was done for, huh? I want you to know that while I was clinging to that pillar for dear life, I had time to think to myself, how should I exact my revenge upon that witch?
Also, everyone on Facebook pointed out that he also voiced Nigel Uno from Kids Next Door, and I can never unhear it.
That's just great. Go ahead, put on sunblock. Let's soak up some rays.
You never sent that telegram like I asked, did you?
I don't really know.
To me, that sounds like no!
Thank you all. It's no wonder people think he's the #1 JoJo. Ha! With all of that said, Battle Tendency had a lot to bring to the table, and I enjoy what it had to offer. So definitely check out both this and Phantom Blood to ease you into this series. As for the next arc... Oh, I hope you're ready.
After 10,000 years, I'm free. It's time to conquer Earth.
Pardon me, hot, sexy mama. If you'd please to take a look at my studly bod, then I may have the pleasure of you wanting to be my #1 main squeeze.
General Zayden is dead! I'm so scared that I'm leaving! Look, I'm running away out of fear!
Any questions?
Yeah,
Enjoy the climb back up, bitch!
So I guess you finally noticed. Now what possible reason would my hat be shrinking?
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it! I'm still alive!
Why won't you die?
She's so.
Likes to dress up, wearing makeup.
Sir Integra, is something the matter?
It's the fucking
Nazis!
Let me see what you have.
No!
He's more machine now than man.
I know you think that all I care about is the kids next door, and while battling adult tyranny is what I was put on this earth to do, you should know there is one thing that's just as important to me.
Meatball sandwiches?
No, you.
Really?
Give me a head with hair. Long, beautiful hair.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
Yopcha's here! Yopcha's dead! I'm the master of disguise. I can vanish from your eyes.
Remind me to punch you in the face 10 times more than usual.
How are you not dead?
I have no idea.
Shoot, that's a good one. Remember that. Shoot first, men's later.
All I've got under my skirt is more tequila, big boy.
Cybernetics? Why?
Because the Major was a cyborg.
Hold on. Why was he a cyborg?
Right?
That's fucking stupid!
Run away! Run away! Run away!
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. And a Happy New Year.
Also, I believe our forces are being quite literally slaughtered.
Who gives a shit? They're Nazis.
Disturbs my slumber.
I'm fabulous. I'm fabulous.
And before you ask, yes! This is a JoJo reference!
Part 1 was the best.
You would say that, you fucking Brit.
I prefer part 2.
I'll admit, this one took a bit to script out since I wasn't too sure if I was using the term flex right. Is that the term you kids are using nowadays? I know I'm an internet grandma, but at least I'm trying. And I'm still in awe that NuxTaku actually agreed to help me talk about Speedwagon, best waifu indeed. I've seen his videos and knew how much he loved talking about the best waifu ever, so I asked him on Twitter and he was happy to help. If you're still watching this to the end, Nux, I just want to say thank you for helping me out and flexing your wisdom to us all. Did I say that right? Did I? Flex? You know. If you haven't seen his hilarious vlogs, click on the link in the description box to check out his YouTube channel. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter if you want to be up to date with our next videos and random announcements and such. I want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters for keeping this channel alive and well, despite YouTube being, well, YouTube. So again, thank you all for your amazing generosity. I would also like to thank all of you for watching this video to the very end. If you like what you see here, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to this channel. More awesome videos will be on the way, so stay tuned to Anime America.